What's up, guys, and welcome, Daily Theologians. One of the questions a lot of people are wondering right now is this Ukraine Russia conflict part of the end times tribulation battles that we see in the Bible, especially from Ezekiel? You're not going to want to miss this because I know a lot of people are wondering, how does this fit in? And I have some ideas. Check this out. So when it comes to end times prophecy, you have to be very weary. There have always been wars. There will always be rumors of wars. There will always be nations battling and nations trying to take control of others. But you do have to admit, with the last 2 years, what we've seen have certainly been unique, which is why I think the end times, Matthew 24 and the book of Revelation, are rightly at the front of most people's thinking right now, saying, is this the end? Certainly the capability to destroy the world exists and has existed for quite some time. And now the technology to control people and to put the mark of the beast in people with microchips, like we're seeing in Sweden and other places, to track people through their phones or have these certain types of documentations required to eat places and buy things. We're already seeing this. So these things are all coming to a head. So the first thing we have to say is, well, why is Russia concerned with Ukraine? And like many things in the world, there's often a sense, I think, of pride, like nationalism, where we see this in places like China, where they have the issue with Taiwan. And here we're seeing the issue with Ukraine, and it denies it's planning an invasion, but of course it certainly is. It has seized Ukrainian territory before and has an estimated 100,000 troops deployed near its borders. Russia has long resisted Ukraine's move towards European institutions. Specifically, they're upset about them trying to join NATO. And this happened in 2014. Ukrainians deposed their pro-Russian president and then annexed the southern Crimean Peninsula and backed separatists who captured large swaths of eastern Ukraine. The rebels have fought the Ukrainian military ever since. The conflict has claimed more than 14,000 lives. And that is from I believe the New York Post is where I got this article. I'll post a link to that one. So this has been a long brewing conflict. And with nations that have long histories, you can see there's a lot of tension. There's been a lot of battles in other nations for land and things of that nature. And the history of humanity is one of constant war. In fact, there have been very few years in the history of the world, if any, where there has been actual peace. All of this, of course, is highlighted now more than ever because of our access to information and the news. So we wonder, is Russia the end times Gog? And a lot of people think yes, and I think rightly so. I think there's strong evidence that Russia will certainly be involved, though not named explicitly. The location of the country is named, and I want to show you something from David Jeremiah. Now, I don't support everything with the old David Jeremiah, but I thought this could be helpful. Approximately 2,500 years ago, Ezekiel predicted specific events that will occur in Russia's future. He begins with Ezekiel 38 with a long list of nations that will attack Israel. None of these nations are called Russia, of course, and Russia wasn't a nation yet. However, reference to Rosh in verse 2 is shortened version of the word Russia. This can be determined linguistically and geographically. The Bible describes Rosh as being far to the north of Israel, which references Ezekiel's original audience. Both Ezekiel and Daniel describe Israel's end times aggressor as descending from the north. Daniel used the phrase king of the north to describe the commander of the alliance, Daniel 11. Ezekiel prophecy lends support to Daniel's, indicating the invading armies arrive in Israel from the far north, Ezekiel 38, 6 through 15. 6 through and then 15. Russia is the only modern nation to match this description. So, is it Russia? Well, let's see what Bible prophecy has to say from places like Got Questions, because the end times, it does look like it's shaping up around us. I mean, it looks like at any moment Jesus could come back, or nations could go to war, or the tribulation, if it hasn't yet started, would start. And again, I don't have a firm position on this. I don't tend to side with the pre-trib rapture, although I hope for it. And again, I hold my eschatology very loosely, but I mean, who would want to go through the tribulation? So what do we see here from Got Questions? Well, we see, according to the Bible, there will come a time when Russia, in alliance with several other countries, will amass a huge army against Israel with a view to plunder the Jews' land. The nations aligned with Russia military endeavors, Persia, modern-day Iran, which you can see Iran certainly does not like Israel. They will attack, basically, and the time of this attack is probably around the middle of the tribulation, according to this article from Got Questions. There's certainly much we don't know about Ezekiel's prophecy from Ezekiel here, but certainly that Russia will be involved. And the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight against your enemies to give you the victory. Deuteronomy 20, verse 4. So God, in the end, destroys this nation that is attacking Israel in the end times. And we can see here that the world, due to poor leadership, lack of strength in leadership, and just ultimately the depravity of man and God's sovereign plan, is sliding into chaos more each day. We're not congealing into a more unified, godly, biblical, God-fearing front. It's becoming a power grab where foreign nations are just asserting themselves to take more land back, and where our country has primarily served as a kind of a referee or a police state to help ensure stability, our credibility on the national stage has been lost. And you can understand why. But all that to say, God is sovereign, ruling and reigning. And whether or not this is the end and whether or not Putin is the guy, he certainly does have a seedy history from what I understand with the just things going on in Russia. And you can see how this would all potentially come together at any moment. In fact, they're predicting an invasion in the next month, which is why I wanted to start to cover this, because I think it's going to be of great interest to Christians as we watch this, wondering, is this the end? Is this the setup for the Antichrist? Will Jesus come back at any moment? Now, again, when it comes to prophecy, you have to hold it very loosely. You cannot be a clock watcher, a date setter, a look at this, look at this, look at this. But Jesus said, when you see these signs, look up, your redemption draws near. And that's always been my position. We're always looking up, but we're working with diligence. We're not like the Thessalonians, the Thessalonians, where we stop what we're doing, we stop evangelizing, we stop discipling, we stop working, and we just wait for the end. No, we keep working. We know that the day is approaching. We know that Jesus is coming back. We know that Jesus lived a perfect, sinless life in our place, most importantly. We know he bore the wrath and hell we deserve on the cross. We know he died and rose and is risen and is coming back and is the King of Kings that will crush all resistance in the end. We do have a king that is a warrior. His name is Jesus Christ. The Prince of Peace is coming as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Russia and end times. And remember, don't get swept up in this. Keep your eyes on the Bible. Keep your eyes on the cross. And remember to keep your eyes on hammering that like button. Like the 95 Theses. Thank you so much, and God bless.